My name is Victoria Owens, and I was 25 the day my own family laughed at me in a courtroom. The sound echoed, sharp, careless, ugly, bouncing off marble floors and wooden benches as if the building itself rejected it. My mother leaned toward my brother, whispering loudly enough for half the room to hear. "We're going to strip her of everything. She's too pathetic to fight back anyway." He snorted, not even trying to hide his amusement. I stood there quietly, hands clasped, my pulse steady despite the cold weight of betrayal pressing against my ribs. The overhead lights hummed softly. The air smelled like polished wood and old files. I'd always imagined a courtroom as a place where truth lived, but today, it felt like a battlefield. My mother looked at me again, smirking. "Don't worry, dear. We'll leave you with enough to rent a small room. You're used to surviving on scraps."
I didn't respond.
Silence was my shield. They'd mistaken it for weakness my entire life. The bailiff called my name. Case 14B. Owens versus Owens. A few heads turned. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. I walked toward the bench, my heels tapping softly, a quiet rhythm, steady, controlled. My mother's laugh faded mid-breath as the judge lifted his eyes. For a split second, the room stilled. His brows rose. His expression softened. Then he leaned forward with unmistakable recognition. "Victoria Owens?" His voice carried warmth, surprise, something deeply human. "Is that you?" My mother's jaw dropped. My brother straightened, confused. The balance in the room shifted, just a fraction, but enough to make my pulse thrum with quiet certainty. Because there was one thing my family never understood. They didn't know who I used to be, and they had no idea who I had become. My mother's smirk collapsed the moment the judge said my name like it mattered. Like I mattered. My brother leaned closer to her and whispered, "Mom, how does he know her?" But for once, she had no answer. The judge removed his glasses, studying me with a slow, familiar nod, the kind someone gives when a memory surfaces with unexpected clarity. "Miss Owens," he said gently, "I haven't seen you since." He paused, searching my face. "The scholarship hearing. You were the top candidate then." A soft murmur rippled through the courtroom. My mother stiffened. My brother blinked hard, as if the word scholarship was something he'd never imagined being associated with me. I kept my voice calm. "Yes, Your Honor. That was a long time ago." He smiled faintly. "But I remember excellence when I see it." My brother scoffed. "Excellence? Her." The judge's eyes snapped toward him, not unkind, but sharp enough to command silence. My brother sat back, stunned. The judge motioned for me to approach. His tone stayed warm, respectful, a stark contrast to the coldness I walked in with. "Please present your side first, Miss Owens." My mother jumped up. "Wait, why does SHE present first?" We filed the claim. The judge didn't even look at her. "Because I wish to understand the respondent's position clearly." Respondent, not defendant, not culprit. I saw the realization hit my mother like a slow, painful dawn. I opened my folder, neatly organized documents, dates, proof they never dreamed I had. The papers felt steady in my hands, unlike the trembling fury behind me. As I placed the first document on the bench, I caught the judge's expression shift again. Recognition, respect, and something else. Because he didn't just remember my name. He remembered the truth that my family had spent years trying to bury. My mother's breathing grew uneven as I laid the first document onto the bench, a crisp, stamped certificate with my name printed in bold lettering. The judge's eyes softened with a kind of pride I hadn't felt directed at me in years. He murmured, running his finger lightly over the signature. "Your Academic Merit Award." I remember signing this myself. A quiet gasp escaped someone in the back row. My brother muttered, "What does some old school paper have to do with this case?" The judge didn't bother to answer him. Instead, he looked at me. "Go on." I placed the second document down, a financial statement. Precise, transparent, untouched. "This," I said steadily, "shows my personal accounts, the ones my mother and brother claim I stole from the family trust." My mother shot up like she'd been electrocuted. That trust was created by me. She has no right to anything in it. The judge raised a hand, silencing her effortlessly. Then he read the header aloud. Owens Family Trust, Beneficiary Allocation. Beneficiary. The word rang through the room like a dropped coin. My brother stammered, That's impossible. Mom changed the trust last year, so everything goes to me. The judge looked over the top of his glasses. Is that so? I pulled out the next sheet, the amendment copy.
Signed.
Dated. And embarrassingly illegal. My mother froze. The judge's tone became cold, clinical. This signature, he said, lifting the page, is not Victoria's. Whispers swept across the courtroom. My mother's lips trembled. My brother's fists clenched tightly. Because he knew what the judge was about to conclude. I leaned in slightly, my voice steady, but sharp as glass. They forged my signature to cut me out completely. The judge slowly placed the paper down. His eyes weren't warm anymore. They were piercing. And for the first time, my family looked afraid. Because the truth wasn't just rising. It was about to burst open. The courtroom shifted, a subtle tightening, like the air itself leaned forward. My mother's face drained of color as the judge examined the forged amendment again, his jaw setting into a stern line. Mrs. Owens, he said slowly, this is a criminal-level discrepancy. Forgery is not a civil dispute, it is a felony. My mother's knees buckled, and she sank back into her seat. My brother grabbed her arm, whispering harshly, Mom, say something. Fix it. But for once in her life, she couldn't. The judge turned to me. Miss Owens, did you authorize this amendment? I shook my head calmly. No, Your Honor. I found out when I received a notice from the trust auditor asking why I had relinquished my assets. I requested a full review. I slid another document forward, the audit report. The judge skimmed it, nodding grimly. This shows an attempt to reallocate 100% of trust assets to your son, with no legal justification. And the signature used is clearly inconsistent with prior samples. My brother shot to his feet. We did what was necessary. She doesn't deserve any of it. She left the family. She chose to be nothing. The judge's gaze hardened. Sit down, sir. My brother dropped into his chair, chest heaving. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't look at them with anger. Just truth. I didn't leave the family, I said quietly. I was pushed out, and then punished for surviving without them. A murmur moved through the courtroom. Sympathy, understanding, shock. The judge tapped his pen thoughtfully. Miss Owens, he said, before I proceed, I need to know something. I lifted my eyes to meet his. Do you want the trust returned to its original state? My mother gasped. My brother whispered, terrified. No. She wouldn't dare. But they didn't know me. Not anymore. Because this case wasn't about money. It was about truth and reclaiming the voice they spent years trying to silence. I took a breath. The next words would change everything. I let the question hang in the air. Do you want the trust returned to its original state? The entire courtroom waited for my answer, but I didn't rush it. I wanted them to feel the weight of a silence they could no longer twist into weakness. My mother leaned forward, voice cracking. Victoria, please don't do this. We were just trying to protect the family assets. My brother scoffed. Just say you want it back. That's what this whole show is about, right? I didn't look at either of them. I looked at the judge. Your Honor, I began softly. I don't want anything that was earned through manipulation. My mother exhaled with visible relief. Too soon. I placed a new document on the bench. The judge lifted it. His brow furrowed, then slowly rose. This is an independent property deed, he said aloud. Registered 2 years ago. My brother frowned. Property deed? Victoria doesn't own property. The judge gave him a cool stare. On the contrary, she owns a 3-unit rental complex on Birch Street. My mother's breath caught. My brother's mouth fell open. My mother whispered, H.L. With what money? I finally turned to them, meeting their terrified eyes. The scholarship I won, I said. The one you told everyone I lost. It funded my business degree, my first job, and eventually this property. Their shock was absolute, because all these years, they believed the narrative they built around me. Victoria is weak. Victoria is helpless. Victoria is easy to strip of everything. But they forgot one thing. Weak people don't build entire futures in silence. The judge tapped the deed lightly. "Miss Owens," he said, "given your independent financial stability, what remedy are you seeking today?" My brother stiffened. My mother trembled. They thought I would ask to take everything back. But that was never my revenge. I lifted my chin and told the judge exactly what I wanted. The judge's question lingered in the quiet tension of the room. "What remedy are you seeking today?" Everyone looked at me, my mother trembling, my brother sweating through his shirt. Even the spectators sat motionless, as if afraid to breathe too loudly. I folded my hands on the table. "Your Honor, I'm not here to take the trust back." My mother let out a shaky breath of relief. My brother sagged back in his chair, both of them completely unaware of the storm still gathering. The judge nodded. "Then what do you want, Miss Owens?" I slid one final envelope across the bench.
Thick. Sealed.
Stamped. The judge opened it carefully, his eyes scanning each line before lifting them toward me with unmistakable surprise. My brother couldn't hold back. "What is it? What did she do now?" The judge interlaced his fingers. "Miss Owens has filed a petition for full financial autonomy and removal from the Owens Family Trust." My mother gasped. "Removal? No, you can't remove yourself. That would look terrible for our reputation." The judge cut her off. "She has every right to sever legal and financial ties." My brother jumped to his feet. "Then what happens to the trust?" The judge looked down at the amendment again. "Given that this document was signed fraudulently, the court cannot enforce the reallocation to you." My brother's face twisted. So everything goes to Mom?" The judge shook his head.
No.
"Because the petitioner, your sister, has legally withdrawn her stake, the trust is now frozen pending oversight. Neither of you can access it without state review." My mother's hands flew to her mouth. My brother's knees buckled back into his chair. They weren't getting a single cent, not because I took it from them, but because of what they tried to take from me. The judge looked at me thoughtfully. "Miss Owens, your independence request is well supported. But tell me, is that all you seek today?" I met his eyes. "No, Your Honor." My mother whimpered. My brother shook his head, because they could feel it now, the truth rising like a quiet tidal wave.
And I wasn't finished.
The judge's question hovered in the courtroom like a held breath. "Is that all you seek today?" My mother's eyes were already brimming. My brother clutched the edge of the table, knuckles white. I rose slowly, not to intimidate them, not to tower over anyone, but simply because standing made my voice steadier. "Your Honor, I'm also seeking protection." My brother barked a laugh. "Protection? From what?"
Us.
The judge silenced him with a single look. I reached into my folder and pulled out a small stack of documents, emails, messages, timestamps, each neatly clipped together. I placed them before the judge. "These are communications from my brother over the last year," I said calmly.
Threats.
Harassment. Attempts to force me into signing over my assets. All because I didn't fall back under their control. The judge flipped through them, his expression darkening line by line. My brother's voice cracked. "Those weren't threats. I was just angry. It's family." The judge didn't look up. "Threats are threats, sir. Blood relation does not absolve misconduct." My mother reached toward me, desperate. "Victoria, please, your brother didn't mean any of that. We were hurt. We were emotional." I stepped back, her hand barely missing my sleeve. "You were emotional when you forged my signature." Her face crumpled. The judge continued reading until he reached the last page, an audio transcript. His eyebrows tightened. He lifted his gaze toward my brother. "You told her, and I quote, 'Sign it or I'll make your life miserable.'" The room erupted in whispers. My brother went pale, then red, then pale again. The judge set the documents aside. Miss Owens, he said firmly, I understand why you are requesting legal protection. My mother whispered through shaking fingers. Please don't do this to us. I swallowed hard, not from hesitation, but from closure forming in my chest. Because this wasn't revenge. This was finally choosing myself. Your Honor, I said gently, I'm asking for a restraining order and full legal distancing from my family. My brother's mouth fell open. My mother began to cry. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because the judge hadn't seen the final document. The one that would end everything. I slid the final document toward the judge. Not with anger, not with triumph, but with the steady hands of someone who had finally stopped shaking after years of being pushed down. The judge studied it for a moment, his eyes sharpening the way they do when something heavy and final enters the room. My brother whispered, What is that? My mother clutched the arm of her chair, her breath hitching. The judge cleared his throat. This, he announced, is a formal declaration of emancipation and legal severance. Miss Owens is requesting complete dissolution of all familial financial authority, inheritance ties, and decision-making rights. My mother gasped like someone had struck her. Victoria, no, please don't. You're our daughter. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt something strange. Not anger, not spite. Just release. I'm your daughter when you need something, I said softly. But never when I needed protection. My brother stood up sharply. So, what, you're just done with us? Forever? I met his stunned eyes. I'm done letting you decide my worth. The judge signed the document with clean, decisive strokes, each one sounding louder than a gavel in the silence of the room. Effective immediately, he said, Miss Owens is legally independent. The restraining order is granted. The Owens Family Trust will be frozen under state oversight, and all attempts to coerce, defraud, or threaten her are now matters of record. My mother sobbed. My brother stared at me as if seeing the ghost of someone he used to control. I gathered my folder. No shaking hands. No racing heartbeat. As I walked toward the exit, the judge called out gently, Miss Owens. I turned. He smiled the same way he had years ago at that scholarship hearing. You always had more strength than you knew. Outside, sunlight spilled across the courthouse steps, warm, clean, untangled from the past. They tried to strip me of everything, but all they did was free me